In episode 3 of the show, we saw Daemon neutralize the threat of the Crabfeeder by taking him on in a one-on-one duel within the cave that Drahar was residing in. This was during the Battle of the Stepstones. However, one thing that I took away from it was that it seemed as though it was extremely easy for Daemon to reign supreme. After witnessing him dragging half of the Crabfeeder out in front of his men, it did leave me wondering, was it that easy for him? Or did we just skip through time quickly and the missing of the battle was something that just needed to occur? So I thought I'd take a look at these two characters on an individual level and see if the battle would have been as easy as it seemed. So let's get into it. Here is how easy was it for Daemon to beat the Crabfeeder in House of the Dragon. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. In the most recent episode of the show, we got to witness the entirety of a build-up but no execution of the battle between both Daemon and the Crabfeeder. All we saw was Daemon dragging out the Crabfeeder after he defeated him, whilst the rest of Daemon and Corlys's men were fighting the Triarchian army. It seemed to be over pretty quickly after Daemon noticed Drahar retreating, almost like he knew it was over. When we look at the two individuals, there's a drastic difference in the pair, and it led me to question why it even took 2 years for them to infiltrate the Triarchian army when all it took was what we saw unfolding on screen. Drahar in the show has a debilitating disease called grayscale. We've seen this disease in the Game of Thrones show before. Grayscale has a few different stages to it. It has the early stages where it doesn't really impact an individual that much. It has a progressive stage in which the skin starts to darken and resemble that of the stone men. And it has the final stages where an individual's organs are turned into stone, a stage that not many people even make it to. When we look at the Crabfeeder, it looks as though the disease has got a hold of him quite severely. His skin is extremely scaly, it's red due to the soreness of it, and it looks as though his hair has wilted and started thinning out, along with him being considerably thin too. This would mean that his physical presence and strength would likely be considerably less than what we see in Daemon. We didn't see the Crabfeeder in any one-on-one combat battles in the show. He left it down to the men that he was leading. The only time we saw him inflicting pain on an individual was when we would see him nailing an already wounded person and then letting some of his crabs loose upon them. So he doesn't strike me as somebody who would be competent in a direct fight. Every time we saw him, he had the upper hand. On 2 occasions, we also saw the Crabfeeder retreating into his cave, at the start of the episode and also at the end, which makes me think that he isn't that confident in his fighting abilities and would rather hide away in the hopes of not being seen. So other than his torturous methods and leadership skills in leading the army, in terms of one-on-one combat, he doesn't look that strong. When we look at Daemon on the other hand, he's larger in terms of physical appearance. He's a talented swordsman, so he would not only know how to best take on an individual one-on-one, but also be confident in doing so. He's a dragon rider and also a leader. We saw Daemon take on many individuals as he approached the Crabfeeder, defeating everybody that stepped in his way, without taking any damage apart from that which came from the sky with the archers. This would have been something that would have weakened him slightly in the direct fight, but I don't think it would have restricted him that much when looking at his opponent. We've also seen him make an example of the criminals in King's Landing in episode 1, showing that he's not afraid to stand alongside his men rather than witness from afar. When looking at Daemon walking out of the cave, he was covered in blood, but it didn't appear as though he was covered in any of his own blood or have any wounds that were on him, outside of the ones that he contained prior to entering the cave. I think taking all of the above into consideration and the fact that the Crabfeeder was an individual who was succumbing to his disease, and also in not containing as much of a physical presence or skillfulness when compared to his opponent, Daemon would likely have made quick work of this. This could also be a reason as to why we didn't see it on screen, as there may not have even been that much of a fight to watch. Daemon could have simply entered the cave and filled with the passion and rage towards his brother, taken out the less skilled individual that was in front of him. The only downside to this for Daemon is the fact that he was touching an individual with grayscale and was covered in his blood, so it could come back to haunt him in the sense that he may have contracted grayscale. So for now, Daemon has won comfortably, but in the long run, the Crabfeeder's disease could see him reign victorious, even though he won't be there. So, there you have it. How easy was it for Daemon to defeat the Crabfeeder in House of the Dragon? If you want to see more videos on House of the Dragon, such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you want to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. Do you think it would have been an easy duel? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.